Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, One Piecers? Welcome back to another video. We are back into set 2 Paramount War Reveals, and today we're going over the green cards coming out in that set. Now, if you have been paying attention to the One Piece content here on the channel, you would know that I am just a green player. There's no two ways about it. I've really been enjoying Kid in set 1, so I think I'm going to have a pretty decent idea of what's good and what's bad in this batch of reveals. And from what I've seen in set 2 Japan meta, like I don't follow that meta super closely, but I have seen a fair amount of Kid and a fair amount of Kinemon leaders topping over there. So we'll see what's what as we go through these reveals. But anyways, if you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video, and let's get on into this, talking about the competitive merit of these cards. We'll start with the Kinemon leader. So this leader is activated once per turn. If you have one or less characters, the next time you play a land of Wano type character with a cost of 3 or more from your hand during this turn, the cost will be reduced by 1. So yeah, the big thing people are talking about with this is turn 1 Okiku. We know from the set 1 meta just how powerful Okiku is. Honestly, sometimes it feels like the best or second best card in the Kid deck because it allows you to just destroy boards, like rest blockers, rest queens, rest like Basil Hawkins, swing into those. And if you have that thing paired with Basil Hawkins, you're killing like just about anything on the board that costs 5 or less. Like that card's very powerful. Being able to play it on turn 1 in this leader does seem very strong as well. The other cool thing is there's an Odin boss card coming out in this set, and this can potentially play that for 7 Dawn as opposed to 8. And whenever you can cheat costs on things, that's generally really good in card games. So this leader, no wonder why it's doing pretty well over in Japan. Then we have the Sanji Leader. So this is a blue-green leader. It's a multicolor leader. We're not going to get too deep into this because we're not reading all the blue cards in this video, but just know this is going to revolve around skillless characters. So once per turn, when you play a character with no base effect from your hand, if you have 3 or less characters, set 2 of your Dawn as active. So kind of like a direct upgrade from the Odin leader in set 1 because he also restands 2 Dawn, but at the cost of a card from your hand. This leader being able to do that while also establishing your board is very nice. Like you can use that 2 Dawn to play more characters or equip those Dawn to characters to swing. You can do a lot of stuff with that extra Dawn, and I do like that this is basically benefiting you from establishing your board. So yeah, maybe there's something here to this leader. I haven't seen it do too much in Japan, but yeah, maybe there is like a skillless type thing that can work here. The thing about skillless cards, like they're very good in set 1 One Piece, don't get me wrong, like Ben Beckman, Virgo, all that stuff. But as the game grows and, you know, basically gets older, skillless cards are going to get power crept pretty quickly unless they have like some ridiculous stats or they have cards like this that directly support them. So we'll have to keep an eye on like skillless support going forward. Then we have Inu Arashi. So this is a 3 cost 4k Minx type character, land of Wano, so it is searchable off Momo. Effect: if all your Dawn are arrested, this character cannot be removed from the field by your opponent's effect. So I do like these pseudo protection types of effects. Like one card that I really like this is from the filled starter deck. I think it's called Shiki. He can't be KO'd by battle if you have, I think, 8 or more Dawn. And that's actually a really relevant form of protection because a lot of times in this game you are trying to remove your opponent's cards off the board by swinging into them, and that's like even more relevant when you consider cards like Basil Hawkins, right? This card's not bad because it has the opposite type of protection where it can be removed by effects. But if this thing is ever in rest mode, it's going to get swung into, and odds are you're probably not going to protect it. So the main scenario I can see this would be like if you're playing it on your 3 Dawn turn, your opponent maybe has potential to play like King 6 on the next turn or something like that. This thing is protected and can be an attacker on the following turn, but for that reason alone, I don't think this is better than like Okiku. Even though Okiku can be KO'd, like that card has so much more upside than this card, which is basically vanilla unless your opponent is looking to get it off the board. So yeah, it's an option, but I don't think it's that great. Then we have an Usopp vanilla film card, 3 drop 5k. So of course you can play this in the Sanji Leader, but this does combo with some other film stuff we'll read throughout this video. Then we have Carrot. This is a 5 cost 5k power 2k counter, so there's always gonna be playability there for the defensive purposes, but we usually don't see 2k counters on like cards with decent attacking stats, so that's kind of cool. End of your turn, set 1 of your Dawn as active. So as long as this card sticks on the board, you're going to be able to get a Dawn back, which makes your defensive event cards all the better, like the Punk Gibsons, the Paradise Waterfalls. And a 5-drop is like a relatively sticky number to where like it's somewhat difficult to get off the board unless you're facing like purple or maybe the new black gimmick of like reducing its cost and then getting it off the board. So that's a pretty relevant thing. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if there's like a Minx type deck that can work. Like, we have some set 1 Minx stuff with like some Beppo stuff, and then there's some more in here, but I don't think there's like a Minx archetype that can really pull it all together. There's obviously no leader for it. Like, you'd probably be looking at Kid Leader to play this stuff because that's the most generic green leader, but we'll see if there's enough Minx stuff here to kind of pull it all together. Then we have the Odin boss cards. This is an 8-drop 8k. Activating once per turn, pay 3, set this character as active. So this is pretty much Kid Leader on a character, which means you have that same potential for beatdown in any green deck. Like, you can play this in Kid and basically have like 2 pseudo leader effects, or you can play it in Kinemon obviously and do the same thing there. And you do have to keep in mind this is an 8 Dawn investment, maybe 7 Dawn in the Kinemon leader. But it also has a nice on KO effect. Play 1 green land of Wano from your deck with a cost of 3 or less, then shuffle. So, you know, this is pretty weak to like Otama Jet Pistol, for example, or you know, Kaido 10, or maybe Black's new gimmick again of like reducing the cost and then killing it. So you have to watch out for all of that, but at least you're not completely punished for this thing getting killed. You do get like a free Okiku from the deck, which is a really strong thing. So overall, this card looks really, really good. Then we have a Toki card. So this is a 1 cost, 0 power, 1k counter. If you have an Odin in play, this character gains blocker. Now keep in mind, I'm pretty sure all the Yamato cards say they also count as Odin. So if you're playing a fair amount of Odin and Yamato cards, this is going to be a 1 cost blocker. It actually has counter power, which is a nice upside compared to Capone, and it is searchable off Momo. So that is a really nice upside that you know, you have to have the proper board setup to make it work, but I think it is really nice in decks that focus on those cards. Then we have Shishilians. We have another Minx card. We have a 2-drop 3k, 1k counter. On play for 2, set one of your Minx type characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. So you can restand that carrot, get several swings, or just restand it to protect it, I guess. Again, we'll see if there's enough to really make a Minx deck work, but I'm feeling like odds are probably not. Then we have a 2-drop 4k vanilla Jinbei. Again, this combos with some stuff we'll read throughout the rest of this video. We have a 2-drop Chopper with 2k power, 2k counter. This is Dawn 1. When attacking, rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. That's not bad because you can rest most blockers in the game, but you know, that attacking stat is pretty abysmal. So how much Dawn are you really willing to put on this thing to swing into a leader? Are you going to put 3 Dawn on it? Probably not. Like, you can use Chopper to swing into other like rested cards like Bonnie's or Momo's and then rest a blocker that way. That's okay, I guess. But yeah, kind of a weird effect for all other purposes. Then we have a 2-drop 3k film law card. So this guy is activating for 1 Dawn. You may return this character to the owner's hand, then play 1 character with the cost of 3 from your hand. So really cool. There's no color restriction there. So if you're playing a red-green deck or some sort of multicolor deck, you can play characters of other colors that have that cost. I also like how they're keeping the theme of law with like bouncing himself or bouncing other cards and playing new cards. And this thing has a slightly better attacking stat. You know, you will have to put 2 Dawn on it to make it a threat, but you can swing with this guy, pay the 1, and then replay another 3 drops. So you're cheating up 1 cost essentially. And then you're also keeping your board in active mode so it can't be swung over. There's a lot of upside to this card that I think makes it a pretty cool combo enabler, as well as, again, like preserving your board presence. Then we have a 3-drop 5k Nami, no counter power, but finally a Nami card that is actually just a good attacker on her own. So on play or when attacking for a Dawn, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then reveal up to 1 film type card other than Nami and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So if you want to play a film themed card in green, this is going to be the card you absolutely need. Seems like a cornerstone of that type of deck. Then we have a Nico Robin, 3-drop 4k, 1k counter. On play, play up to 1 film or straw hat crew type character with a cost of 2 or less from your hand. Okay, so this is the main gimmick of this film stuff, is like play 1, which cheats out another, which cheats out another, which cheats out another. So there's a bunch of them that do that. I guess we'll read through all of them before we talk about the merit of it. We have a Neko Mamushi. So this is actually a way cooler cat viper than the original art from set 1. But we have a 3-drop 4k, no counter power. And this is just a blocker. So this is just a bigger statted blocker. It is searchable. It's got no counter power though. I don't know if you'd play this over Capone or the Toki that we read, but it is an option there if you want to see it. Then we have a 5/7 Frankie. So I think this is green's first 5/7 vanilla. I don't think it had one in set 1. That was one of the things about green, is like it didn't have the same vanilla stat cards that like the other colors in set 1 do. But yeah, this might be a welcome thing depending on, you know, the meta and how big of threats you might want to have in your deck. Then we have a 4-drop 5k Brook. On play, play up to 1 film or straw hat crew type character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So again, we see that gimmick of like play 1, which plays another, which then plays another. So yeah, I guess I'll talk about it now. This does seem good in theory because being able to cheat out multiple cards at once does seem strong because of summoning sickness. So if you can play multiple cards, that means on your next turn you have multiple threats that can swing at your opponent. The problem is we don't draw a ton of cards in this game as it is, and hand sizes are not too huge either. So how consistently are you going to have the Brook with the Nico Robin with whatever other character you want to cheat out? Like, how often are you actually going to have that string of cards, and how consistent is it? I would wager not super duper consistent. Like, maybe if you played this in like a red green law deck where you can play 1-drop red Nami to search out some of your stuff. I don't think that has a color restriction. If it does, then disregard this. But yeah, like if you have a way to make that all more consistent, then sure, go for it. But I don't think like a mono green deck that can't search these cards out, I don't think it's going to work all that well, to be honest. Then we have a 7-drop 7k Luffy, and this is a blocker, and then on play 1 film or straw hat with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. So again, play Luffy, play Brook, play Nico Robin, then play a chopper, let's just say, or play any of the vanillas that we saw, depending on you know, what your hand looks like. And again, same thing. It just depends if you can search out these cards and how consistent you can make that engine work. Then we have a Yamato card, so also treat this as Odin according to the rules, just like we talked about before. And then on play, rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. This is super good. Like, establishing a pretty decent body at 6k and resting like a Queen or a Basil Hawkins or some 6-drop threat your opponent has for you to then swing into. Like, you're gonna spend 4 Dawn on this, so you have to really keep in mind how much leftover Dawn you have to equip to something else. But if you do have a Basil on board, this thing combos very well with Basil Hawkins, because you can equip minimal Dawn to Basil Hawkins and get multiple swings at 1 card. So that does seem really good. Then we have a 4-drop 6k Zorro, just a vanilla, but again, that Luffy we read can just play it for free, which is definitely not a bad thing. But again, all comes down to consistency. We have a Wanda. So this is another Minx type card. We have a 2-drop 3k 1k counter on play 1 Minx type character other than Wanda with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So you can play the Shishilian, and you can also play the Neko Mamushi blocker that we saw, I believe. But again, like, this is probably not enough to make a Minx deck really work well. Then we have the 3-sword style Onigiri. So we have a 3-drop counter. Up to one of your leader or characters gain 6k power during this battle. Then play up to 1 character with the cost of 3 or less and no base effect from your hand. And then trigger rest one of your opponent's leaders or characters with cost of 5 or less. So similar to Punk Gibson in that regard. But besides that, like, okay, pay 3, get a 6k counter, cheat a guy out. If it didn't cheat a guy out, I would say that leaving 3 open on defense is honestly like way too much, because that means you're doing a lot less with your own turn. But again, the fact this cheats something out as a result of paying 3, you better have that 2-card combo in your hand, obviously, which again, one piece, not the most consistent, but I guess green is one of the most consistent colors, or the most consistent color in the game. So if you can find these strings of cards and make it work like that, it does seem pretty good. This will also pair well with those same film cards that we want to cheat out with the Luffys and the Nico Robins and the Namis and all that. So this does seem pretty good if you want to play a film based deck, but leaving 3 open for defense is a lot. But again, getting 6k counter power on 1 card, that's getting you out of probably like any attack in the game, to be honest. Then we have Diablo John Bay Venison Shoot. So we have a 2-drop. We have effect main, KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. Not bad considering you're only paying 2 for it. And then trigger, play up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less and no base effect from your hand. So more stuff going towards the blue-green Sanji Leader. Not bad, again, if you want to play that leader specifically. We have Paradise Totsuka. We have a 1-cost main. Rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less, and then trigger, KO one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. This is actually a great card, and another reason why this game really needs sideboard. Like, I think I'm going to do a whole video talking about why this game should have sideboard best of 1. Not sideboard best of 3 for at least Swiss, because that would be a long tournament day. But this would be such a great side deck option. But it's going to be really hard to justify maining, because, like, in green, you want to play your defensive events like Paradise Waterfall, like Punk Gibson. And where do you fit this? It's a card you can't counter with. It's only good in niche scenarios, but in the scenarios where it is good, it's incredible. So yeah, this would be a great sideboard card. Unfortunately, we don't have that in one piece right now. And then we finish up this video talking about Land of Wano. We have a 1-cost stage. Activate main, you may trash 1 Land of Wano from your hand and rest the stage, and set one of your Dawn as active. So you can basically turn any leader into a mini Odin leader, which is I don't think all that great. Again, the cost of pitching a card from your hand and only getting 1 Dawn back on this initial 1 Dawn investment. And the problem with stage cards is honestly how many do you play? Like, if you want this thing to be part of your main engine, you'd want to play 4 to see it as early as possible, but you just can't afford to load your deck with this type of stage card that can't be countered with, can't really do much at all with. I guess like you could just pitch extra copies of this card to make its own effect live, but at that point I don't think it's worth it at all. Your hand's gonna dwindle down to nothing and probably not be that great. But overall, guys, hope I gave you guys a pretty adequate you know, summary of my thoughts on these cards. If you agree or disagree, of course let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.